guys, and welcome to the Fish Room. I'm Rachel O'Leary, and it's time for a Tuesday tip, but instead we're going to do something a little different. I thought I'd tell you guys a little bit about how my hobby evolved into a business and what really sparked my interest. Now, I had planned to show you guys my winterization setup, but we got so much snow I can't get the doors open to take you outside to show you my generator setup, so we'll have to do that another time. So the reality is I kept fish from the time I was a child. We had an aquarium in our living room, and I really enjoyed going to the fish store with my family, picking out fish, seeing them breed and seeing them interact. As I got older, I got more into sports and art and other activities and less interested in fish. I moved away to go to college. I lived in Philadelphia for a really long time. I met my husband and we started our family. And when that happened, I was working as a veterinary technician. And vet techs don't make much money. They should be paid much better than they are for what they need to know. But that's a whole nother story. So I got a fish tank for my first Mother's Day, and that is where the trouble began. You know, I got an apple snail, a mystery snail, which I'll show you guys in a second. And back then there was only dial-up internet, so I sat on the internet and I was reading all about these snails, and there were some really interesting scholarly articles about not only their usefulness in an aquarium, but also about the heritability of the color genetics. And at that time, which was early 2000s, you could only really get the gold ones or the wild ones, and occasionally you could find a blue or ivory. But what I read online is that you could have all these crazy colors, pinks and purples and whatever, and I wanted to make that happen. One tank quickly turned into many tanks. Not too much longer, we moved here, and my mother gave me $100, and my husband gave me 3 10-gallon tanks, and I got my first shrimp. That was in about 2004, and it was just cherry shrimp, but you know, cherry shrimp had been in the hobby for less than a year at that point, and I had incredible success breeding them. They went crazy, so I was eager for more. So anywhere I could get different variants, I did. And I started attending conventions and fish clubs and things like that to meet other people that were really into this stuff. And from making those connections, I gained the ability to start importing fish and invertebrates. And what I would do would be to ask for species that stayed tiny, specifically shrimp to begin with, but then small fish. But when you import, you have to get a ton, you know, 300, 600, 1200 of a species, and I would want maybe 10 or 20 for myself. So I would get them in, make them healthy, and sell off the extras, and that's how my business began. Now, what's kept me in business is that every single day I learn something new, either about fish behavior or some sort of technique, or I get introduced to some sort of new avenue within this hobby. And I really feel like it's a wonderful one to be able to stretch your brain, grow, learn, and really just enjoy. So let's take a look around the fish room, and I'll show you some of my favorite species. In this aquarium I have wild bettas, which I've never shown you guys, but they are a secret project of mine that I am absolutely just obsessed with. They are gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. And these guys are mouth brooders. You can see how colorful the males are. So this is a project I'm really excited about, and what keeps me engaged in this hobby is I keep discovering more and more fish that I just want to work with. Another thing that's new to me is these panther crabs. And they're a Sulawesi species that are aquatic, and I recently got them in, and they are just absolutely beautiful, and I'm really looking forward to learning more about them. So far I've learned that they absolutely need an extremely tight fitting lid. I had a few escapees. These are my Class N endlers, and they're a threatened species, and I've talked to you guys about these before. But working with species that are threatened in the wild is something that really gets me excited. This is my female Apistogramma cockatoides, triple red, and if you look around her, she has a ton of fry. And one of the things that keeps me really excited and engaged in this hobby is watching fish like this parent their fry. I find it to be absolutely fascinating. And this will probably always be one of my favorite fish. Look at those babies, aren't they cute? Maltese are a fish that I've been keeping for over a decade, and you know, every time I stop keeping them, I end up coming back to them. And it's just because they're so fascinating. You can see some dominance behavior going on back there, or maybe it's courtship, who knows. But these guys are always exciting and fun to watch. And they're one that I really think every hobbyist should try at some point. Another thing that really keeps me going in this hobby is fish that I can't get to breed. And this pair of Laeticara dorsigera are one of those. I have tried just about everything. And they're absolutely gorgeous, but I just can't get them to spawn yet. I have in the past, but I can't get them going consistently. And it just really gives me a nice challenge. They're beautiful fish. One of the most exciting things to me in recent years has been my increasing interest in planted aquariums. I've always kept plants in aquariums, but it's only been the past few years that I've actually tried to do it in a more artistic way. And I still don't consider myself any kind of aquascaper, but I've certainly gotten more conscientious about placement of plants, and I really like to support the people that are super into aquascaping. One of the biggest goals I have for my business and for me and my personal growth is to really facilitate people sharing information about aquascaping, making more materials available for an affordable price, and really trying to change the vernacular, which means change the way people think about a planted aquarium so that it can become a part of your choices in home decor, so we can really spotlight some of the aquascapers that are so talented within the United States as well as abroad. And you guys know I love my big primitive fishes. I'm actually considering selling my Cuban gar just because I think he might be happier in a different setup. But these guys keep me so interested in fish because they're just so darn neat. Everything about them is fascinating. I mean, look at this dude. He's so cool. And my polys I feel the same way about. So these mystery snails, Pomatia diffusa, are what really got me started in my hobby as an adult. I got really, I stumbled across an article about them at work when I was a vet tech. I was just, you know, browsing through, we had a big library, browsing through the library, and I found an article about paramecium snails. And that's what these guys used to be referred to because they have a really inefficient digestive tract. So they eat, you know, decaying plant matter in the wild and all sorts of, you know, herbivorous stuff. But they don't digest it very well. And because they produce slime, as they create fecal matter, it gets trapped in their slime. And it's largely full of partially digested plants or aquatic unhealthy vegetation. These guys don't eat healthy plants. And it breaks down in the aquarium and produces paramecium, which is a phenomenal first fry food. Now I need to hatch another clutch because you can see that these guys are getting pretty old. They're about golf ball size and their shells just aren't perfect anymore. So I'll work on that. And when I do that, when I get a clutch and incubate it and raise them up, I'll make sure to do a species spotlight for you guys so that you can see what the process entails. But these guys will always remain a species I keep in my fish room, and I absolutely adore them. Anyway, that's just a little bit of information on sort of what drives my hobby and how it became a business. And I really truly think of myself as much more of a professional hobbyist than a business. But I have some really exciting stuff that's going to be happening in the next few months. So get ready for some interesting content and a lot of changes. As always, thanks for watching. I'm really thinking about going live soon or doing a live Q&A, and let me know below if that's something you guys would like. Anyway, I hope all the people on the East Coast and the Midwest are staying warm, and a huge thank you to everyone who came out to the Big Fish Deal this past weekend. It was a massive success, and I had a blast. So check my website for my upcoming speaking engagements to see where I'll be next. Make sure you stop by my Instagram and Facebook as well, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos.